Hi, it's Chris at Gardening Express here. I thought today I'd show you dahlia planting. Essentially, this is something we sell an awful lot of, and you've got different sizes, different shapes and varieties, and some people, need to know how to plant them, so I'm going to show you. They're going to arrive with you essentially as bare root plants. Now, what I've got here are supersized sort of giant bare roots that we have from time to time. These, you won't typically find these in a garden centre, because basically the garden centres want a smaller plant that sits nicely on a packet on a shelf. We buy these supersized ones because supersized starting material like this is going to bring you supersized big plants that establish very quickly, a lot more flowers, a lot more power in there. What you're buying in here is the promise of a lot of flowers and a lot of fast, quick, good quality growth. We've got 3 of these to plant today. We're also in the sort of middle of summer now. Now, most people plant their dahlias sort of in March, April, spring before the frosts finish, and you'll be getting flowers now. They'll already be flowering. But these, we keep them in cold store, and that means these are held back. So if you plant them now, they'll grow rapidly because the temperatures are warm, and the day length's already getting shorter. That plant will detect that when it starts to grow, and it'll flower faster. But yeah, let's get planting. So what I'm going to do first, something you can do, I'm not actually going to do it these, just demonstrate it, is you get a tub of water. When they arrive, you can soak them in that for sort of 24 hours, get them hydrated just before you want to plant them. That'll start stimulating the growth. You do that indoors in a warm place if you get them in spring. So I need to dig a hole that's going to nicely accommodate the full size of that root. It might be a bit noisy as I do this. I've got well prepared garden soil here, so this has all been dug over, prepared previously. It's almost like a fresh bit of garden border. There's nothing growing in it. It's actually on the corner of a little veggie plot we've got here. If your soil isn't this condition, you need to fork it over first and get it into this kind of condition. If you've got poorer soil, that may mean you need to put some improvement in there, like compost or something. So I've got the dahlia root. We've got a hole here for this one. You want to be covering this about once to twice the depth of the root itself in soil when it's in the ground. Just checking the depth is right. Yep, this one's good. So I've got a good sort of 6 inches, 15 centimetres of soil going on top of that. And further to that, in winter time, you can mulch over the soil. Again, another sort of 3-4 inches, 10-15 centimetres up to of mulch is really going to protect that crown and root in the winter, so you don't have to worry about lifting them out and all that extra work and hassle. Now what I'm going to do in the bottom of this hole, I'm actually going to add a little bit of compost, but if you don't want to use compost with all of that extra stuff in it, you can just use some granular food to give your plants a really good start. So I've just mixed the compost into here, into the bottom with the soil. That'll give this plant a really good start. Now if your soil isn't free draining, it's going to hold all the water in winter. There's going to be almost like a puddle in the bottom of this hole. You want to perhaps incorporate some sand or gravel in the bottom of the hole for drainage, so the root isn't sitting in water, because that'll cause it to rot. I've put a couple of good handfuls essentially of that in the bottom of the hole. I've mixed it around with the soil. Your dahlia root goes in. We've prepared it in the bottom and we've checked the depth. It's going to have a nice coverage of soil on here to protect this crown in the winter time. And we will be mulching these anyway to give them some extra protection just to help them through. That's essentially it, we're done. Now our soil's quite moist at the moment, it's good retentive soil here, but there's a drought in a lot of areas actually at the moment. So I'm going to give this just a good watering can, really get it nice and damp in that hole to get it really started and going. In the springtime, obviously, you wouldn't need to give it quite as much water, but just because we've got these hot conditions, I'm using a watering can because there is a hose pipe ban on in gardens. Okay, so that's it. That's essentially how to plant a dahlia tuber. Very easy, and perhaps we'll try and revisit this in a few weeks' time to see the progress.